Leanne correctly solved the equation x squared plus 16x equals 1 by completing the square. Key word there is square. We're going to complete the square. Which equation, which one of these four equations is part of her solution? So let's copy this down, make it a little bit bigger here. Okay. Now, if we're going to complete the what? Complete the square. Remember the key word was square? Then we're going to have something squared when we're done. Okay? Now, to get x squared, I'm probably going to need an x. Okay, now, let's look at the 16 here for a minute. Okay, 16. If I had 8 right here, watch what would happen. If the second number was 8, okay, watch what happens. When you square this, what do? I copy it down not once, but twice. That's what square means. Now, if you FOIL this, you're doing the first terms, x times x. Then the outside terms, you have 8 times x is 8x. And then the inside terms, 8 times x is 8x. And the outsides and insides together give you your 16. And then lastly, 8 times 8, the last terms give you 64. Now, notice we have 16 right here. That's the number I wanted. So in order to get 16, I have to come back and write an 8 right here. Okay? Originally I just said, hey, what if that was an 8? But in order to get that 16, this has to be an 8. All right? Because the outside terms, you have x times 8 is 8x. The inside terms, 8 times x is 8x. That's doubling 8x, okay? So in order to get the 16 up here, I've got to have an 8. And then the 64 comes from the last terms. 8 times 8 is 64. So what we're doing here is we're cutting this number in half and getting our 8. And then that'll be my last terms. We're going to do the 8 times 8 and get 64. That's the number that we're going to have to add to both sides of this equation up here. Let me show you. Here's my equation, okay? So if I say, well, golly, oh gee, I wish this was a 64. If this was only a 64 right here, then I could get that x plus 8 squared. But if you can put 64 right here, as long as you put 64 over here also. Okay, see where we're headed here? So now we're going to write this the way we want it to be. Of course, this is 65, isn't it? 1 plus is 64, 65. Now we're going to write this the way we want it to be. The x plus 8 squared. And that gave me my 1 plus 64 right here. So looking back at our equations, we're going to pick answer C. All right? Now what's the value of getting it set up like this? Well, now we can solve this equation. Once you have something squared, hence completing the square, once you have that squared, if I take the square root of this, I'll get x plus 8. If I write the square root of this, watch. We're going to take the square root of this, you get x plus 8. Take the square root of this, we're going to write the radical, a plus or minus, with the radical, 65. Okay? And now I can copy that down, give myself a little room to write something here. Subtract the 8 here and here. Both sides, subtract 8. Do the opposite of plus 8 on both sides. Bring down the x, bring down the equals, bring down the negative 8, and this is plus or minus 65. So now we have solved this equation by completing the square. Of course, our answer was C.